All right, all right, all right, all right. Tonight's video is going to be about the 3 keys to personal mastery. Now, I know it didn't sound very exciting starting this off. I've had a pretty draining day, but I still want to get this content out because I think it's critical that you guys really pick this, pick value up from this particular thing. So, I'm going to start this off saying that personal development is something that's in always this nebulous term, right? A lot of people are just consistently wondering, what is personal development? Is it this big guru, methodical, nebulous idea of becoming better, but there's no real tool of measurement? Well, if you caught my blip of a live stream yesterday, I talked a little bit about powerful goal setting. And if you didn't catch it, I'll certainly redo it. There's more content I left out that I wanted to include in that, so I definitely didn't get as much more out as I wanted. So I'm gonna redo that down the road. However, when it comes to personal mastery, right? I've talked about having a metric, making things tangible, make it where you can actually grasp what is going on and actually address it and use it and measure your progress, right? So the content of this video is about attaining personal mastery through what I call the 3 keys. Now, beyond the keys, there's actually blocks, right? These are areas that you want to target, but the keys are the tools to get there. And so the first key, right? And I want to say the most important, but it's not. They're all equally important. But I think the importance is stressed on this one, is the strength. Strength is the first key, right? Having strength. That's strength of will. It's not strength of it's not this idea that you need to be the strong person per se, but you have to make a choice, right? You have to be aware of what's going on, and you need to have strength to have that idea. Okay, I'm aware of what's happening, and I want to make a change. It's self-recognition and then carrying it out. So strength is the first key to this gateway of personal development, right? It's the will that's behind the decision. It's the desire to change, having the strength to actually change action. Because what's happening is, if you're not self-aware, you're kind of like a freight train that's going down a railroad, and you don't really actually know what's happening or where you're going. It's just going. It's going with the flow of life, right? Well, it takes strength to actually shift that train to a new track. It takes a channeling of energy, a diversion from the current momentum. Momentum is taking you this way. It's going to take a nice force to shift you into another direction. Ideally, it would be a nice gradual change, but most of us don't experience it like that. It's like, for example, if you're, a smoker and you want to stop smoking, it's going to take that decision. And then when you feel that urge to do it, you have to resist it. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to strength. Okay, so that's the first key. The second key is actually moving into what I call consistency, right? Everybody needs to have consistency in their lives. Consistency is super important. It's to do the same thing over and over and over again. It gets boring. You might have another distraction. You might have another thing that you're struggling with, and it may move you in a different direction. But the key to mastery on oneself is consistency, right? Like, you may promise to your spouse or your partner, whoever that may be, that you're going to do something differently. But if you only do it one time, that doesn't matter, right? You're still going back to the way you were doing things. You need to be consistent for that change to actually be permanent. So consistency is key here. That's the second key, is being consistent. We'll get into the blocks, which I'm going to start targeting in the next video probably, but I want to get into the blocks and let you guys know kind of what the direction I want to take this is. But consistency is the second. And I feel like this is the biggest thing that really makes or breaks everything else. Even though you have the strength, if you don't have the consistency, one single thing is not going to change without that consistent action that's behind it, right? So the strength is what initiates, that's kind of pushing that train into motion. But the consistency to keep it going and feeding the fuel to the fire is what keeps it going, right? So you're shifting the momentum, the crazy train that's going down the road with no direction. You're taking it and you're shifting it to a new direction. and that's strength. And now you got to fuel it so it keeps going in the new direction until it gets to that point where it has enough momentum that it's going to take a whole big thing to derail you off of that, right? So you're kind of wrestling here with your own psychology in a way to become better at whatever it is you're looking at doing. And we'll dive down that road in a second. The third, which the second brings up this question, right? The second key brings up the question of, okay, well, if you're doing all this and it takes that one thing to derail you, how do you set it to where that one thing isn't going to derail you, but it might derail a part of that? How can the machine keep running, even though you may get hit by something like death in the family or something that's really drastic, and it won't derail everything that you're looking at doing? So the third key here is balance. It's taking every component that you've been going through, everything that you're working on, and finding balance. And on all the keys, this one is the biggest struggle that I have, is balance. I put so much focus and so much energy into one thing that it tends to take over all of our other aspects of my life. And once that one thing kind of falls apart, it gets to this point where it's like, oh shit, I got to start over again, because it's like it's all started over. I got to do that. So this is the key that I have to keep working on. So the next question is, once you develop these keys, once you have these keys, or you start recognizing that these are the things that, what do you do with them? Once you have them, what do you do? How do you use these things to your advantage? So the reality of it is that you take those keys and you unlock what I call blocks or pillars, right? These are the things that actually unlock personal development. These are the things, because you can have strength of will, balance, and consistency in all negative areas, and great, you have the keys, but you're unlocking the wrong doors. You're opening the wrong doors. You're opening the wrong things. So what we're looking at here is, what areas do you need to target, and how do you get better at those areas, right? So today's video, I'm going to talk about all three of them, but I'm really going to dive into the first one. I put these in a very particular order. I did wrestle with the order for a little bit, but the particular order is, now this is really cliche, so bear with me here and I'll get to it, is to work on your body first. That's your physical health, right? It's not like getting this to be this bodybuilder per se. It's to work on your physical health first. The second is to work on your psychology, okay? And the third is to work on your spirit. Now, this may seem counterintuitive to a few people, because they say in order to start working on your body, you need to have the right mindset. Well, the mindset actually falls in the keys, right? That's the strength, that's the will, that's what's going to unlock that. Mindset is part of psychology, yes, but it's not actually working on your psychology. It's setting the proper mindset so you're able to do this first, right? Because you have to make that decision first. So you have to get that strength developed first. You have to start finding and becoming self-aware enough to realize that I need to muster the will, right? So when we get into goal setting, the first thing you do to unlock a goal is to really, and what I mean by unlock is to actually fulfill a goal, is to unlock these three keys. You want to get into the position where these three keys are revealed through that goal. I'll give you an example. Let's say the goal is to lose 10 pounds, right? And you want to lose 10 pounds today or next week or 3 years from now or 2 months from now. It doesn't matter. Set a goal, make it realistic, make it smart. Talked about that in the last video. But the first thing you have to do is you have to have a powerful enough motive to shift that freight train, which is you gaining weight consistently over the years, to shift that into a new path. Now, in NLP, one of the things that we often refer to as practitioners is toward or away motivation, right? A lot of the motivation that I've worked with within myself has been away motivation, right? I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to look this way. I hate being this way. I want to get away from this type of thing. Now, I find this type of motivation actually be not as powerful as a toward motivation, right? Although it is true that the body tends to want to move away from pain more than it moves toward pleasure, I feel like in the long run, if you're trying to move away from something, it kind of poisons your psychology and actually makes it harder to work on your mind, right? So we use both, but the idea is to keep in front of you is the toward motivation. What do you really want, right? So this comes from the strength key. The second aspect is consistency. Okay, well, screw it. Today, I've made the decision to change my entire diet and my exercise program. I left 3 weights, and then I go, you know what? The same for me. I'm done. I'm going to go back to eating like shit today. I'm making an excuse, right? Now the consistency failed. And now we're starting over again. Now you have to reinitiate the fire of strength to get the consistency moving again. Third is balance. Do I do this all the time and completely rule out everything else? Absolutely not. How do you find balance in doing everything? How do you make this new change balanced in the way that you're approaching it? How do you take these new changes and balance it with the other components of your life, so where it's not what we call the ecology, it's not affecting the ecology of your life, right? And that's the second part. Don't allow it to affect the ecology of your life by eliminating other things that are positive toward you, right? So if you decide to lose weight, but you spent time with friends who often made food, but those friends are also helpful for you, and you just ate too much of that food, how do you make that work, right? You just say, screw you, friends, you make so much food, I'm not going to do that, and you start losing their positive influence? Do you do those type of things? And that's where balance comes in, because that can actually disrupt the entire, let me say, the train, right? The train of good intention now, the train that you've reset, the new momentum that you're creating. You're building up, and that consistency is creating that fuel, and you're moving forward into this new way, and you're like, well, it's actually ruining my friendship, so I can't do this anymore. Or it's actually disrupting my education, so I can't do this anymore. Or it's costing too much financially, and I can't do this anymore, right? So balance, how do you make it work? How do you fit it in with everything else? So going back to the body as one of the blocks, and I think it's the first one, because the reason why I positioned it first in my system here is that the body is what you learn by training the body. And I mean in diet, in exercise, and everything, is you learn discipline. Okay. It is one thing to say that you work on your mind first, but if you can't sit down for 10 minutes without having some kind of distraction, or you can't concentrate because you lack discipline to sit through the pain or the anxiety or the stress, and you feel like you need to do something, then you're not gonna be able to do work on the mind. The mind is a lot easier to run from than the body, right? The body, you're moving, and once you're in movement, you're creating emotion. Motion creates emotion, right? As you're moving, you're creating more emotion, you're creating more good feelings, you're releasing endorphins that make you feel good, and through that process, you're actually developing discipline. And then you start getting in this habit where it's being consistent. Now you actually feel like you can't stray away from it because it creates consistency, and that usually happens about the 20th day or so, where you feel like you don't want to move away from the consistency, right? Because now the momentum's going, and you're like, I don't want to stop, I don't want to stop, I don't want to stop, and you don't want to get derailed. But now when you don't master the balance component, something happens in your life, and then you get derailed again. You're just like, oh crap, got derailed, because now I'm going to focus on this one thing 100%, or I'm going to focus on this one thing way too much, right? So key is to be consistent with that and work on the body. The body is where you're going to get your discipline. It's also going to give you the long-term health. It's also going to make you stronger as a person if you train your body. Not saying you have to train your body forever, but use it to build discipline, and then take that discipline and apply it to your psychology, right? So the second pillar or block that you really want to start targeting is psychology. Now, this one is elusive to a lot of people because they lack the discipline to peer inward and actually figure out what's causing the problem. They tend to blame it on other people or other things. They tend to blame their psychology on, say, their parents. They tend to blame it on their friends. They tend to blame it on environment, their job, their people around them, whatever. But they tend to blame their psychology on things around them because they're not peering enough inward. You can always point the finger, right? You pissed me off. Well, yeah, okay, something you did triggered me, but what happened on a deeper level? How did I actually get triggered? How did I actually get upset? How did I actually respond to that? And who was in control? Who made that choice to respond to you in that way? Who felt the emotions? Why did those emotions surface? And what map has your mind created of reality to respond to that stimulus in that way? Okay. So psychology is a different ballpark. And years ago, when I started learning martial arts, this was kind of the path of a student. You train your body, you do a lot of crazy, ridiculous stuff. You work on all this housework, you do all this extra stuff, and you're building discipline, and you're building a lot of discipline. And then when you move up, you actually start working on your mind a lot more. You start clearing out the junk out of your head. But it takes discipline to do that. But now you have the discipline to be able to sit down and spend time with working on your psychology versus finding an excuse not to. Finding excuses not to run from those things versus actually just targeting it and going, here's what we need to fix. And here's what I'm going to spend time fixing, right? Not to mention the effects that come from the body. When you work that body, all those endorphins, all the feel-good mechanisms, the enjoyment factor, it makes it a lot easier to work on your mind and actually peer inward. Because the biggest mistake when people they make is when they start working on their mind, it's they do it in a time when it's already crisis. You got to do it proactively. You can't do it reactively. It's like saying, I'm only going to go to the gym when I've gained 3 pounds. Instead of saying, I'm going to go to the gym every day so I can just keep the weight off. Instead, they're saying, oh, I've gained 3 pounds, need to go to the gym. And then as soon as they lose the weight, they stop going to the gym. And they gain 3 pounds again, they go back to the gym until they lose the weight again. And then they stop going to the gym after that. It's the same mentality, right? You're being reactive instead of proactive and targeting the mind and going, okay, this is what we need to do with the mind. This is how we need to target the mind. We need to target the mind in the same way that we would train the body. We use the same discipline we built for the mind, but we actually carried it through the body and the mechanism of the body. And we use the momentum of developing our body and developing our health to have the energy to dig deep into our psychology and face whatever demons we are facing inside. Right. So this is where that psychology comes from. Now, this is the pinnacle of this whole thing right here. And of course, I'm keeping this very general. I'm going to get into real detail on the website of how this all works. But the third one and the most important one, I think it's the end game is spiritual. All right. Now, disclaimer is when I say spiritual, this does not mean religious. Okay. That's a disclaimer I throw out. I tend to want to shy away from the spiritual aspect and because a lot of people have their own interpretations of what the spiritual side is, right? Long story short, my interpretation is when you are developing the spiritual side, after you've taken that momentum to crafting your mind and body, it is about you becoming so much of a part of everything around you that naturally you contribute to everything around you without even thinking about it. Okay? That is the summary of what the spiritual side is. You take that momentum, and through that transformation that has occurred through the physical aspect and the mental aspect, it is now impacting everything around it in the spiritual aspect. So how do you get there? How do you take something from mastering your physical body to mastering your mind to becoming so much of everything else that you actually lose this ego that's associated with the mind, right? Because the previous two, you're working on this form of you, right? What you identify as you, what the world has called as you, what you have thought was you. You have spent all this time crafting that. And through the mind and the body, and you may stop there and go, that's enough. But true personal mastery comes from letting go of all the things that you just did. Getting so, I don't want to say detached because there's a lot of negative connotation to it, but letting go so much that you realize that you're part of a bigger whole, right? You're contributing to a bigger whole, whether it's on a cosmic level or a cosmos level, or whether it's just contributing to the person next to you. It's bigger than you. So that is where I'm really at with this, is like you take that spiritual side and you start realizing that you're bigger than what it is, right? You're connected to that person next to you. You're so much more than what you think you are, right? But at the same time, you're also nothing. The idea of you starts to dissipate in everything around you. And you realize that once you take away something, once you remove something, once you remove an aspect, did you lose a part of you, or did you lose a part of what you thought was you? At what part do you say that I'm gone now? At what part is your identity no longer associated with what you just created, right? So this is where it gets challenging for people because the religious beliefs start flooding in. This is why you don't want to target this point at right now. You really want to start with the first two. Is how do I get my mind right? Because sometimes when you hear something that you don't like, right? Let's say somebody said that, let's say you're a Christian and somebody says that Christianity is bullshit. If you feel a reaction in you, you probably have some mind work to do. If you feel a reaction, that you probably, and the key word is probably, have some mental work to do. If the idea is that you shouldn't react, you should react appropriately, but what's appropriate, right? So the idea is that we get to this point where we start letting go. And I'll tell you on a small scale, typology, right, is I took it in, I made it my own, I studied it, learned it, helped people figure it out, figured myself out in the process, and then I started letting it go, right? Now, people will continue to type me, and I still will always have a type because that's how it works, right? There's a natural type that I've had, and I was born that way, and that's fine. But I used it for what it was, and then I start letting it go. I don't identify with it, right? I don't think that's me. Sure, it's a descriptor. It's just like a descriptor of saying I'm male versus female, but it doesn't mean anything to me beyond that. If you think I'm a ESTP or an INFP, I don't really care, right? I've lost the desire to try to convince someone of what type that I am, right? And that desire came from an identification aspect, is that somebody may think I'm a certain type, and I'm just at this point where I'm like no longer there, right? And letting it go. That's the point of the spiritual block, right? So recapping what I said earlier, there's 3 keys that unlock each block. You take these keys and you apply them to each pillar or block, and it helps you actually master these components. Does it take work? Yes, it takes work. Additionally, you must work consistently. That's key number 2. First key is what? What is the first key? First key is going to be strength or will. It's a decision that you make to do or make a change in your life. That decision is not going to get you far enough if you can't stay consistent, which is the second key. And the third key is if you can't balance or check the ecology of that decision with other areas in your life, then you're not going to get very far anyway, right? So these are the keys that unlock these blocks, right? And these blocks are the components in which develop one person or whatever, right? And the blocks are essentially your body or your physical side, your psychological side, and then your spiritual side. And that's where they come from, right? That's where the foundation is. So it starts with your body. So what do? We're going to talk about body today. Body's the focus. I'm shifting gears. That was the overview. Now we're going down into a little more of the granular work, and we're going to start talking about the body. The body, fortunately, I've spent the last, 15, 16 years studying personal training, and the body is a tool in which we can do what we need to do to get things done, but it also crafting the body is the challenge, right? How do you craft your physicality? How do you get better at what you do? How do you get healthy? If you're in a position in your life where you don't feel healthy, you don't feel like you can do whatever it is you need to do. I'll tell you, I've been there. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been in super great shape to the point where I felt like I could walk outside and do anything I wanted to do, right? I could walk outside and do a double backflip. I said, you know what? I'm just going to do a double backflip because I feel like I can. I could go scale a roof. I could go climb a tree, right? I could do anything I wanted to do. And I've been on the other side where I walk outside. I'm like, man, my ankles, if I jump off this 2-foot ledge, I feel like I'm going to snap my leg, right? I feel like, and so I've been on both sides. And I can tell you that I have been blessed with relatively good health. So I haven't been on the point where if I'm suffering from a fatal disease or anything like that, right? Or even a disease that makes me more disabled in a way, or disadvantaged is the right word, right? But I've been on both sides where I understand how it feels to be where the point where you're starting to doubt if you can do anything. That doubt can creep into other areas of your life, right? Yeah, a question may come up if you are older Let's say you're 60. I don't expect you to scale walls and climb trees. If you can, great, but I don't expect it. But one thing you want to be able to be sure of is that you're not frail. You're not to the point where you're falling apart, right? You're not going outside and you're going, oh man, I just feel like I can't even make it to my car. That's just not a way to live. I mean, that's challenging, right? That's a really tough way to live. I mean, if you can enjoy it, great, but it's to the point where you don't want to have to wind up that way. Once you're there, it's already too late. You want to be proactive and not get there. So the idea is that you got to start working on it. So what do you do? Well, if you're looking for like getting ripped or buff or whatever, this is probably not the right channel. This is probably not the right video for you to watch. The reason being is there is a certain downside effect that comes with vanity as well. And I'll be the first to admit that I have suffered through vanity issues my entire life, right? To the point where I've driven myself madly obsessed with how I appeared, to where I was counting micronutrients that were going in my body at any given time, all the way to the other side where I let it all go. I just ate and did whatever I wanted and didn't care at all, right? This huge all or nothing mentality that has carried through my life for quite some time. So, anyway, yeah, so you want to focus on that aspect. You really do want to make sure that you are paying attention to what it is you're trying to accomplish. Now, you may get fit looking, you may be okay looking a certain way, but if you start working out and you're starting to be consistent on your diet and nutrition and your exercise, then yeah, your body might transform, and that might be a nice perk that comes with it, but don't get identified with it, because then you got more to work on down the road, right? Especially on the spiritual side. So the idea behind it is very, very straightforward. So the moving forward now is to the point where we have to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. So what I have done is I have written a hidden blog, and it's semi-hidden, but it is a journey of what I am doing as of this month on the physical side. And I want to, show you that it can be done. This is coming from a place in my life where I don't feel as healthy as I have been in the past. I'm not so unhealthy where I feel like I'm going to keel over and die, but it's starting over, right? I'm going to take myself through each key of mastery and each block. I'm going to start from the beginning. I am going to condition myself in the way that I should have been conditioned when I was 18 and 19 and 20 years old. But instead I spent too much time creating tons of excuses, right? There was dozens and dozens of excuses. Well, why do that first? Or, well, this doesn't make sense. Or, well, why this? Or why that? Or why this? And what you find out is that you don't do anything, spending all that time bullshitting around. Now, can you work on your mind first, then your body? Yeah, you can. It's not impossible. If you struggle with discipline, I certainly recommend you start with your body. But I'm going to do it in the order that I've laid out. I'm going to set an example of what I am planning on hoping to deliver to you guys as well. And so I've already designed my exercise program. I've already started my diet, and I'm going to take myself through a transformation. Okay. And I don't mean just a physical one. I mean through the whole thing, step by step by step. How long is this going to take? It's indefinite. It never ends. There's no end goal, right? It is to move through each one and work on both, or balance, right? We're using that third key right there, and we're balancing the physical with the mental with the spiritual, and there's practice and time being devoted to each. Sure, I'm going to start off with the physical, build the physical up, get that to a point where I feel comfortable, in the sense of like, okay, I'm getting back to where I need to be, getting my heart health back, getting my cardiovascular back, which I'm really concerned with, and getting to the point where you feel, okay, I got that back. I feel like I'm healthy again. I feel like I'm being able to breathe again. Now I'm going to move into the other side, right? Which is now working on the psychology, getting rid of this past baggage, this irritation that I may be feeling, right? Or this frustration that I feel with certain people or certain things or certain past events. And now I'm going to still work on the physical while I'm working on that. These are still going on, right? It's not over. And then when this gets to a place where all the baggage is kind of to the point, and so it's to the point where you're like, okay, now what do you do? Now I move on. I get to say, now I'm going to start incorporating the fact of letting it all go, not being so attached to it anymore, and realizing that it's one small piece of the giant puzzle and we all play a role. We're all cogs in the giant machine, right? And letting go of the idea that I'm more than something else, and letting go of the idea of comparison, right? So this is the transformation that I'm going to begin in this quarter. It was one of my goals, and it's something that I'm directly going to be working on, and I've started already, to the point where I've already rebranded this channel, and I've already started working on the website. I'm going to be starting to work on other things as well, getting this financial side down as far as the business financial, to make sure that everything is happening in the right way, right? And there's going to be challenges, and I hopefully will broadcast these challenges and let you know where some of the struggles are. So if you guys want to participate in something like this, there's no better time than the present. And you're all going to start at different points. Some of you may be avid exercisers and you're already feeling like you're healthy as a beast, right? Well, spend more time on the mind. But there's no time like the present. Start now. Don't wait until there's something that you need to be doing. Just get it done. Find that balance. Use that third key, right? Make a decision. If you're unsatisfied with some area in your life, and this relates to the other video that I made, I don't know, a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. If you're unsatisfied with some area of your life, then yeah, you need to start thinking about what it is you're unsatisfied with. If I only had this, or if I only had that, or if I only had this, don't use words like that. This type of transformation is not about what happens on the outside. It all happens internally, right? This type of thing doesn't require some grand event or luck. It requires discipline. It requires perspective, and it requires a sense of wholeness. And that comes from consistency, being able to see it over and over and over again, and having the goal set to where it is so tangible to you, right? The goal is so tangible that every day you know that you're getting a fraction of a percent better. If you can get a fraction of a percent better every single day, that's all that matters, right? I don't mean in any one category, a fraction of a percent in everything. If you're just getting that fraction of a percent better, then great, you've made progress. So Gemini says, I'm concerned about personal relationships and not falling into negative patterns. Okay, so this is in the what block? This is going to be in the psychology block, right? Your personal relationships are interpersonal, right? Your intrapersonal is your physicality, and then your whole, your sense of whole is going to come from the spiritual side. So this is going to be more in your psychological block, your relationships, and the patterns that come from that, right? That's a whole different topic, but the whole concept is, okay, now that you understand where this is, how do you measure what's a negative pattern? How frequently does that pattern occur? When does it occur? What is the stem root of that pattern? Where did it come from? When's the first time you felt that feeling? And what's in your control? What's not in your control? If you think, well, it's not me, it's the person I'm with, then what attracts you to that person? Why are you attracted to that person? What inspires you to be around somebody who makes you feel like shit, right? And if it is the other way, right? What if it's you? Then we'll figure out what part of it is. Okay. What part of you, no matter which way you look at it, no matter which way you look at the prism, it's always going to come back to you. Okay. There's no escaping it. It's not anybody else's fault now nor never. It's going to be yours and yours to own. I talk about this a lot in sales training too. And I say that, there's two ways you can be. You can be in the blame, excuses, and denial region, or you can be in a responsibility, accountability, and ownership region, which I call above the line or below the line. Which one you want to be? You want to be above the line. Be above the line all the time. Be above the line. Right? What can you get out of this situation to realize that what it is you need to change? I'll tell you, being in a relationship for me for now 9 months, roughly, being in a relationship for 9 months now, I'll tell you, I have transformed in a lot of ways. It has been a positive experience, although some of the struggles were pretty bad. I will tell you that it has been overall a positive thing because it has enhanced who I am because of what I have set forth in my life, which was I am going to get better. I don't know how exactly sometimes. I don't know why. And I don't even know anything about that, but I have known that I've always focused on improving every time, every incident, everything. And I have said, okay, this is how it's going to unfold. Yeah, I still have problems. Yeah, I still deal with things, but I'll tell you, it's been a transformational experience for the better in the recent years or months, because I can see what's happening. I can see now that I've made changes. I'm consistently making those changes and accommodating people more now. And I've stepped outside of my own box in a lot of ways too. So it can be a positive thing. You just have to find what complements you in a lot of ways. I'm going to do another video here in the near future, probably about relationships, but because that's a part of the mental block or the psychological block is relationships. Another part of the psychological block is business. Okay. Being able to get your finances right, get your money right. You can't really enjoy the luxuries of life and enjoy life when you're worried about what you're going to eat tomorrow. This is a mindset more than it is anything else. Finances is a mindset. If your mind's right, money will come to you. Right? So getting your money right, getting your head right. Now, when I say getting your money right, it doesn't mean your income. Some people are making 6 figures. Some people's income are 7 figures. Some are 5, some are 4. It's not about income. It's about what you do with your income. It's about the principles you are able to establish with your income. Building wealth. And understanding how wealth is built, right? Income is a number of things that creates income. It could be a job opportunity. It could be your education that gets you income. It could be something that you've created. But income comes from a number of different things, but it's actually about creating wealth for yourself. And I'll be probably doing some courses on this here in the near future as well. So I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Getting kind of out of this typology thing and leaving that to the pros, right? And leaving that to the people who love typology so much that they forgot the reason why they got into it was personal development. Now they want to argue about which system is right and who knows NI better, you or me. Well, I don't really care. I've figured myself out enough to know that I've used typology in the way that I needed it. Now, aside from that, yeah, we need to get our shit straight. And I'll tell you, most people in the typology realm are consistently working on the psychology portion of the block, but what's your game plan? Do you have a game plan, right? Do you have a game plan for the psychology of what you're looking at doing? Is there a game plan? Or do you just kind of wing it and you let bad experiences come and then you try to fix them versus being able to be proactive and getting 1% better every day or getting a fraction of a percent better every day? How are you making improvements in your wealth every day? How are you making improvements in your relationships every day? How are you making more money every day? How are you doing better in your job every day? How are you making strides in your past damages or your past traumas every day? How are you blending how are you fixing the bonds with your family every day or your friends? How are you creating closer circles? What's the game plan, right? How are you working on this block? Or are you just winging it? You're waiting until something bad happens and then trying to prevent it from happening again. Let's be honest. That's the key, right? What's the game plan? So guys, if you take anything from this, it's about game planning. It's about getting to a point where you realize that you need a plan and you're going to make it happen, right? And you know what you're doing every day. I say always take it down into, you have a yearly strategy, you have a yearly goal. This is what I'm going to do in a year. And then you move it down into this point of this is what I'm going to do into a quarter. This is what I'm going to do every month. This is what I'm going to do every week. This is what I'm going to do every day. This is what I'm going to do every quarter of a day. To the point where it seems crazy, but it's so small. You've taken this large beast, right? Whatever goal it is, and now you've put it into a perspective in which it is realistic and now it's tangible. All I need to do is make one extra call a day, or all I need to do is approach one extra person a day, or all I need to do is make one more friend a day, or all I need to do is text my girlfriend every day, right? It's those one little things that add up to this bigger whole. That's what we're aiming for. What is the bigger whole? It's about setting that solid plan. Now, some of you may be using your type as an excuse and go, well, I'm a ESTP and I don't plan. I don't like plans. Well, then don't know what to tell you. You're making an excuse because you're that type, right? You can wing it and get to a certain point, but what you'll find is that the more developed, I've said this years ago, and I don't know if it ever rang a bell, but I've said it years ago, is the more developed a person is, the harder it is to determine their type. Because they become more balanced. The things that are like sore thumbs are no longer sticking out. You start seeing that, wow, this person's showing a lot of emotion. This person's also really logical. It's really, I can't tell if they're a TP or a FP or FJ. This person looks like he's a judger. This person looks like he's a perceiver. I'm not really sure what this person is. Then you take some anecdotal evidence and try to attach a type based on the 14 out of 90 videos you watched, and the other 16 videos had the complete opposite. Then when you get that information, you're like, oh, I was wrong the first time, right? So that's the important thing is to understand is that your type is not an excuse. It's a means to understand yourself and give yourself a starting point, and then going, okay, I'm probably going to have issues in this area. Let's investigate. I'll tell you. I had issues with identity, right? I would pick something new up and I'd identify with it. So I had to become great at it. Whatever it was, I picked it up and I wanted to be great at it because it became a part of me. I couldn't just be a spectator. I couldn't just pick something up and just have fun with it and let it go. It was like, if I picked it up, I'm going to be the best damn person at it that they've ever seen. And obviously that's not realistic. Without consistent practice, what has that yielded? It yielded a lot of frustration, and it yielded, wow, you suck. You're not getting better because you haven't practiced, but you're attaching to all this crap, right? It's been a waste of my time. Instead of just being able to pick it up and have fun with it and let it go. There's that, oh man, I don't need to attach to these things. But being an FI inferior person like I've been, the thing that typology uncovered for me was I didn't have a real firm idea of who the hell I was at the end of the day. I'd be so involved as picking up all these other external activities, everything everybody else admires. And then I'm like, I'm going to do that too. They approve of it. I have to do it. They all made 100 reasons why it needs to be done. I have to do it too. I have to get good at it. It's the only way that these people, I'll be accepted. It's the only way that I'll accept myself. If those people approve, then I'll approve, right? So this is what it's coming down to. And as I've done this and I've been searching and I've been reaching out to people and I've been touching base with a few people, I've come across a few things. Like I said a few videos back, I've looked for very specific people to mentor in business, in finance, in whatever, and free of charge for, I just looked for very specific people. And I said, I'm going to mentor these people to the fullest of my extent. And as I've been doing this search, right, and I've been finding possible people who have come to me and wanted some mentorship, I have determined that a lot of people aren't ready. A lot of people aren't ready to receive what it is. They want free stuff, right? This is not that I'm better. This is not that I know something. It is more the fact that there has to be a point in your life where you start being able to let go of what you think is right. And you have to open your mind up to what you think is possible, right? I don't know the answers. I'll tell you right now, I have mentors. I have a lot of them. I have a whole bunch of mentors. I have people that, I ask opinions of all the time. What do you think about this? Or what do you think of that? And I have professional ones and I have personal ones. And I've had them all throughout my life too. Less now than I did previously, but still, they're there. Mentorship's huge. And I've looked for people to mentor in business. And that's been a challenge as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, watching where people are at, and I certainly have gotten a good perspective of kind of what's happening out there. And I'm a little, I would say, I'm a little shocked because a lot of people don't have a self-awareness to realize where they are, and no matter what I say, it doesn't matter anyway because they're not going to hear half of what I'm saying. Why should I waste my time, right? So that's the whole concept behind it. Now, moving forward, there is a point where I will be focused on expanding, right? And expanding myself. And like I said, I'm already doing a personal transformation now, and to the body side. I'm working on specifically the body side of personal development, more so than the others. That's going to be my sole focus. Yes, I'm still going to work on psychology. Yes, I'm still going to work on spirituality, but the focus is going to be on the body. And I said I was going to talk about that in this video, and I got about 14 minutes. Okay, let me move back to that. Got carried away. Okay, so the body, I'm going to pivot right back to that. So the body is there's several things to the body I want to summarize, and you can get this information out there. And I don't want to make this complicated. I'm going to make it very simple because it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple. There's strength, right? And endurance. It's musculature. There's cardiovascular. That's heart health and lungs health, being able to breathe. And then there's flexibility or joint health, right? Let's just summarize it as that. There's bone health and all kinds of things, but let's just categorize all of that as nutritional, and then what we can do with physical movement, flexibility, strength, and endurance, and cardiovascular ability, right? And then diet and nutrition. So let's just say exercise and nutrition in bland categories, right? Because if we keep this really, really basic, it gets very simple. Exercise should consist of strength training. What does that do? It enhances bone density, right? It enhances lean muscle mass. It makes you overall healthier and feel better, and you burn more calories. You keep weight off, and the side benefit of looking good. The other side, nutrition, what does that do? Well, that's a whole different thing. I say, if you're going to do anything, if you're going to pick one, do nutrition. Your cells are going to be nourished with they need to be nourished with the right nutrients. And then we got crappy foods, right? All this processed crap that cuts all these nutrients out. How the hell do we still survive? Well, we don't. We are operating on it's like putting a bunch of, not gasoline in your car. You're not putting gasoline in there. You're putting some weird ass mix of crap in there mixed with some sugar and hoping that it makes the car go. Can it? Probably, right? I mean, it probably won't do very well with sugar, but let's just say some weird crap that's like a mix of it, and it may not go or perform the way it's supposed to, but it may go. At some point, it starts breaking down. Now, whether we get into oxidative stress or not, again, we're not making this too complicated, but we're talking about just making sure you're nourished with the right things. What does that do? Well, it makes your actual physical exercise more effective because you're getting the right nutrients for muscle growth. You're increasing bone density. Your cells are getting stronger. They operate better. They're getting coated with the right fuel to do their jobs. Each cell is it's the smallest living unit it's the smallest living unit. That's period. It's right. A cell is a living unit that has an entire ecosystem inside of it. And if you have never looked at the inside of a cell, it is mind-blowing. Like what is actually happening in the cell. It's like a freaking sci-fi film. You see all these damn the ribosomes and these damn, like, all these things and these peptides doing what they need to be doing, and the freaking lipids blocking things from coming in. And it's just crazy. You're like, what the freak is going on? It's like a damn city. And you're just like, this is a freaking miracle. And every little cell has this, right? So why would you take, on a macronutrient level, yeah, food tastes good and all this, but if you think about it, you're like, man, I want to power this city up. I want to make this city fucking kick some ass. I want this city to be performing at its highest efficiency, right? I'm going to give this the right nutrients. Now, if you eat crap sometimes, that's fine, but you want to balance out with that third key, right? Balance. You want to provide the right nutrients to make that damn thing work. You want to make that thing move, right? And you're just hearing this, it feels good. Oh yeah, it takes about 90 days for the average cells to turn over into brand new cells, right? The old cells die off, new cells are created. In a nutshell, 90 days. I believe it takes like 7 years for bone cells to turn over. So it's a long time you need to be providing yourself the right nutrients to get like new bones, right? And I think it's like 9 to 12 months for nerves. But in general, just 90 days. You take 90 days to get your cells to start operating the right way. Your cells are being born again. You're having a new ecosystem that your body's running off of. So, bone cells stop growing once we reach puberty. Yes, they stop growing, but they still get replaced. Old cells die off, new cells come in. The bones stop growing because the plates are actually done. The growth plates are done. But the bones in themselves are still replenishing. The cells are changing over still. Yeah, but they don't grow anymore, correct. So the concept is still the same. Provide your body with fuel. If you're going to do anything in the health thing, just make small changes to your diet. I'm not saying flip everything over. We're talking about a fraction of a percent better every day. Instead of drinking that 9th soda, drink only the 8th soda. And then the next day, drink the 5th soda. And then the next day, drink the 4th soda. And then the 2nd soda, then 1 soda, and then 1 soda every 2 days, and then 1 soda every 4 days, and then 1 soda every week. And then you're just starting to get to this point where you've made so many changes that your body's going to start transforming on its own. And all you did was cut one thing out. So if you keep doing this and you keep doing this thing, consistency, using that key to work on your body, all these things start happening at once. And your body's going to start reflecting what lifestyle you live, right? My lifestyle has been crazy busy in the last 6 months. I've not focused on my body to the extent I've used to, right? And because of that, my body reflects someone who has neglected it. It is a good image to point to you and say, is this body representing the life I live? And most of the time, yes, right? You look at the body and go, yep, that looks like I do this all day. And it looks like I exercise this much. And it looks like I eat about this right. So if I were to make this better in one category, and let's say I exercise twice as much, my body would probably look better to that degree over a period of time, right? So this is the aim in which I want everyone to start thinking about, is consistency, right? Doing the little things every single day instead of everything at once. Stop trying to all or nothing. And this is advice that I have to give myself consistently. Stop trying to all or nothing everything and simply take it one day at a time. One step, fraction of a percent better every day. How are you hypercharging your body? How are you getting better at what you do? What foods are you putting in your body? What fuel are you giving yourself? Right? If you feel tired in the afternoon, why? Do you drink enough water? As I drink water. Right? The thought of water. When somebody says water, I immediately feel the need to take a drink. It's crazy. Not that it's what you people should be doing. So the DJ says, I think the toughest part is sustaining the diet you choose for yourself. Yes. But again, when I go back to powerful goal setting, what's the problem when people set diets? What is the problem? Okay, going back to the 3 keys, what's the problem? They make the decision to try the new diet, so they have the will, right? That starts. Are they being consistent? Yeah, but then the balance problem kicks in, right? Well, I work and they buy donuts at work, and then I can't balance the donuts at work with myself, and or I have a family dinner every night and we always eat a bunch of junk food, and then shit. I mean, this is the biggest challenge that we have, right? Is the balance portion of diet, right? And then also setting a solid goal. What is the fuel of that goal? When I say strength of will, I don't mean just make a decision. Okay, so let me clarify. Let me go back. I'll hold that thought. Diet, when I say the word diet, I don't mean get on a diet. I mean, fix your fucking diet. That's what I mean. Don't get on a diet. Fix the things that you eat. That's what I'm saying. This does not need to be a diet. It needs to be the way you eat every day. And I always told my clients back when I was training a lot, I told my clients, I said, if you ate 90% the right and 10% wrong, you're fine. Even 80-20, you're fine. When you start getting that 50-50 range, that's when you're going to start affecting things, right? So I'm not talking about hopping on some ridiculous diet, so that one that's not sustainable. I'm talking about actually a lifestyle change. This is what I am doing, right? So part of this body transformation that I'm committing in, and I said I'm going to start switching the foods. I'm going to start going more organic. I'm going to start getting the maximum nutrients, take the highest quality supplements I can find. And I'll be posting a lot of this information on my website as well, of kind of like what supplements are beneficial, which ones I have found to be viable, which ones I'm affiliated with, which ones I will promote, which ones I won't promote, which ones that I think are complete crap. And probably if you're taking any, they're probably crap. But I want to be very transparent and let you know this is what I've seen to work for me. And I've also picked one part of my health that I'm targeting, which is my digestive system this quarter. I'm going to target the regeneration and the health of my digestive system this quarter, which means I want my body to metabolize and process foods the way they should be. I want to eat a food and I want to make sure that metabolize it. And how do I know how that feels? Because I've been there. I know what it feels like to instantly metabolize something. And I don't mean actually instantly, but I mean where it feels like it's just in and out fast, like whew, quick, right? So yeah, when I talk about sustenance or sustaining the diet or sustaining what it is you're doing, this comes from your mindset. This comes from setting a powerful goal. I said I'll redo that. I will redo a powerful goal setting. So when you are at a point where you are ready to make a change in your life, okay, whether it's the physiological side, whether it's the psychological side, or whether it's the spiritual side, when you're ready to make that type of change, you need to have a powerful goal. One that gets you your ass out of bed every morning. One that you don't hit snooze every morning. One where you go, you know what, shit, I'm not living this kind of life anymore. I'm tired of being sick and tired, and I'm sick and tired of being broke, and I'm sick and tired of eating unhealthy. I'm sick and tired of feeling like shit. I'm absolutely disgusted with the thought of being a lazy piece of shit, right? And not doing anything and bitching about everything that's happening to me versus actually taking control and grabbing that damn thing by the horns and saying, fuck it, I'm going to do this the right way and I'm going to get this shit done. Right? Well, you're an ENTJ. You're just an aggressive person. That's not how most of us are. Quit making excuses. I'll tell you right now, just because I'm an ENTJ doesn't mean I don't freaking make excuses too. I've heard myself create excuses why I can't do things. I just said, there's points in my life where I'm making excuses. For 10 years, I made a certain excuse, and I'm not going to get into that story, right? 10 years, I made an excuse about something. And 10 freaking years. And until, I don't know, a month and a half ago, I was realized, wow, you dumbass, you've been making an excuse about that for 10 years. And it hit me like, what the freak have you been thinking, you freaking moron, right? So DJ says, what's your opinion on those diet trackers that iPhones have now? The apps that show the nutritional info of everything you eat. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, those are great tools if you have a really hard time knowing what's in foods. I've been doing this damn thing for so long. I can look at a food and tell you how many grams of fat's in it, pretty much right off the bat. I can look at a food and tell you how many grams of carbohydrates within ballpark. I can look at a certain piece of food, no matter what it is, and have a general idea of how many calories it has. Sodium's hard to tell because you just can't. Some people salt things more than others, but with, like, I'm talking about macronutrients, you can tell. Fats, carbohydrates, proteins. You just know. You don't even need to look at labels anymore. You don't need to go, whoa, that's yeah. But if you're at the point where you're not there yet, yes, use the diet tracker so you can start counting where you're at and what you need to be doing, right? At some point, I'll be posting probably the body scans. So at Gold's Gym, if you're in the US, they have this thing where it's like a 3D body scanner. And it's pretty cool because they take your body fat. They take your body fat and they do this little thing and it spins you around, and this little electronic thing measures all your measurements and tells you you're a fat ass and you're just really embarrassed after that. It's great because it's a great starting point. So if you guys have that, that is a valuable tool to metricize your progress, right? It's a valuable tool to take and metricize. So I'll probably post my stats at some point on the website so you guys know kind of the transformations that are happening with me at some point. I don't know when, but I have a few of those scans. I'll post those, but I'm going to get this crap done. All this other stuff I need to get done, but I'll get to that point where I'll start posting that content as well. So that way you guys can see that there's progress being made just by making a choice, right? Just by going, this is the choice that I've made and this is what I'm going to be doing. Whole food, plant-based diet clears arteries. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's specific nutrients that clear and help break down the plaque that's built up in the arteries. Sure. So whole foods, yeah. It's better than processed shit. So I'll go along with that. All right. What else, guys? What else do you want to know about the body? You ask your questions now. Stay hydrated, folks. Stay hydrated. Another thing is you do want to make sure that, yes, the somatotypes, yeah, the 3 somatotypes you're talking about, ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. Yeah, I think that most people fall within a blend of a few. So Miguel, email me. My email, I'm going to type it in here for you. And tell me what you need, what you're looking for, what you're unsatisfied with. You can do an audio, video, or text, whatever is most comfortable for you. Just shoot me an email and let me know what you're unsatisfied with, what you want to be, where you want to improve in your life. INTP Paul about the somatotypes. Yeah, so I think most people actually fall within a blend of them. I've always been meso-endomorphic, like a blend, not like a perfect mesomorph and not a complete endomorph, kind of in the middle. So yeah, exactly. I'm kind of there with you. Hybrid of mesomorph with certain endomorphic traits. I thought you said endomorphic, but you said ectomorphic. But yeah, I more have the endomorphic traits, right? The bigger bone structure. I always, as a kid, I was kind of like called big boned and that kind of thing. Yeah, and right, INT Paul, that's good. The yoga is great. I actually encourage people to do yoga. I'm not a yoga guy myself. I did martial arts for a long time. So I got that flexibility training from martial arts. Like as I sit here, my legs all like up by my chest and stuff, because I always find ways to get that flexibility in. So I'm consistently practicing flexibility. I sit weird all the time. I sit in full lotus almost all the time at work, everything. So I'm always trying to find ways to consistently challenge my flexibility. I've lost a lot of flexibility over the years because I'm not able to sit in like the splits at work. I guess I could at some point, but yeah. So point is, yeah, you consistently want to be working on these other aspects of what you're looking at doing, whether it's fitness, health, and inside of that, each of those blocks has a world of knowledge. And I'm not proclaiming to be an expert on anything, really. I just want you guys to follow a system so you can start making improvements, right? The one thing that I can say I've always had going for me is I'm a consistent student. I take a percentage of my budget every month. I take a percentage of my budget, and that budget, I'll take it, and I will allocate it to books, right? And that's like an investment, right? So they always say pay yourself 10%. So whatever your income is, you pay yourself 10% of that income. Pay yourself first. So if you have some bills, you can't pay everything and you can't pay yourself 10%, you might have to postpone a bill, right? You might have to postpone. Well, here's a late fee. Well, you know what? How much is that investment in yourself going to get you? It's probably going to be more than that late fee cost you, right? Now, certainly don't be late on a lot of things, but if you're tight that month, yeah, you need to really continue to invest in yourself. So, yeah, that being said, you always want to make sure that you allocate. Okay, so I take a percentage of that 10% and I invest in myself in that asset. I take the other percentage and I take it out of cash form. I'm not confident in the dollar. I do have a little bit of cash, but I put it in other assets. So I don't keep a lot of cash in my bank account. I invest in other assets to protect cash or the value or purchasing power, right? So you take it out of a cash asset, you can put it in all other things. But part of the assets is education, consistently educating yourself over and over and over again. How much more can I learn? And you don't know until you can do, right? You don't know until you do. That's the rule of thumb. So yeah, you can learn it. You got it in your head. Now you got to go apply it. Right. Man, I probably should end this live stream right now, but I really want to kick some ass this year, the remainder of this year, right? July. We're in, let's see. Yeah, it's July. So it's the 7th month of the year. The remainder of the year, kick some ass. That's the goal, right? INTP Paul, being a rather short and medium framed female, I normally weigh between 60 to 62 kilograms, very dense bones and musculature. Preteen has always been quite health conscious. Okay. Congratulations. That's good. Yeah, you're ahead of a lot of people in that aspect. So congratulations there. DJ says, are vegetable fruit pills as effective as real vegetables and fruits? Are they good alternatives if you can't bring yourself to consume fresh fruits and vegetables every day? Yeah, that's a complicated subject. So, vegetable fruit pills as effective as real vegetables and fruits? Well, depends. I wish I wouldn't have to say depends, and I wish I could give you a clear answer. But the reality is, how are the vegetables grown? What way did they give you? What did they put in the vegetables? But no, I can't give you a clear answer. I would say in general, vegetable and fruit pills are not as effective in general, right? But if those pills or tablets are derived from high quality vegetables and fruits, and you're comparing it with the run of the mill vegetable that's been sitting on the damn store for a long time, and they get it from the cheapest vendor who uses mass amounts of growth crap to encourage the growth of vegetable, then probably the tablet's better, right? So this is what I'm talking about. In general, I would say yes, but it gets a little more complicated. So the idea is to make sure you get variety, diversification of your nutrients, right? So you want to diversify what type of nutrients you're coming in. You're not going to eat the same vegetable every day. You want to take in all kinds of different things. So that way you're getting a blend of that. So if one thing you ate was crap, as far as like the quality of it, then you're replacing it with something else. And definitely maximize your supplementation. I'm big on the quality of our foods completely sucking. Now, some people don't feel that supplementation is necessary, but I'm telling you from a natural fat ass, aka the endomorphic mesomorph like myself, I gain weight really easily. And no matter how healthy I eat, if I supplement and I provide more nutrients and I provide more of the better things with supplements, I notice a visible change in my body. It's in the way that I feel. Sure, maybe placebo, personal story. But I would definitely say that, yeah, I notice when I'm taking high quality stuff in addition to. Now, some people are genetically gifted and they don't notice anything, and they have great benefits, at least physically, and they can feel it. But inside, can you really tell what's going on a cellular level? So it's better to be safe than sorry. Other than that, like I said, that's my opinion on it. I'm sure there's controversy out there. I'm not going to say that I'm a pro at everything, but I will say that I've studied this in detail enough to have a good idea of where to go. Again, it's the bigger picture that we're focused on here, right? So, all right. All that being said, time to kick some ass this year. So if you're watching this video, I want you guys to set some action. Get some action. Get action. Take action today. Say, you know what? Screw this mediocrity. I'm not doing this crap anymore. Screw this. I'm not living below my means and my potential. Screw this. I'm not doing this crap bullshit anymore that I've wasted my time with. I know I appreciate where I am today. Respect where you are, yes, but then go, screw this crap. I'm moving forward. And make a decision and target that fraction of a percent better. That's all I'm asking. Fraction of a percent. All right. Last questions. Miguel, yeah, you can, if you quickly type it, I'll answer it right now. Otherwise, you can email it to me. So I'll give you just a few minutes here to answer that question. Anybody else, please post your questions now. I'll answer those as well. Anything about the physical development, please let me know now. So other than that, make sure, just a quick recap, 3 keys, okay? 3 keys. You have, okay, so 3 keys. Sorry, I got distracted. 3 keys. You have strength or the will, consistency, and balance. Your 3 blocks are your body, your mind, and your spirit, right? The question Miguel asked was, what do you think this universe is? Well, that's a very, very, very sophisticated question. It's probably better reserved for Trey. He'll love to talk about that subject. Him and I see it the same way. He just loves to talk about it a lot more than I do. I don't like to go down that road a lot. I'm more here, I guess. And but I think Justina has the right answer. This universe is, and that's it, right? What are your favorite physical activities and exercises? Well, I'm kind of a risk taker, so I really enjoy things that bring a lot of adrenaline. I'm not big on slow, steady, kind of boring stuff, so I'd be more prone to enjoy stuff like kayaking versus canoeing, like rapids, like crazy stuff. I would be more prone to skydiving versus sitting in front of a fan. I'd be more prone to scuba diving versus having a pool party. And I certainly like I certainly like enjoying anything that's really high pace or fast pace, or boxing. Love boxing, love martial arts, love all those things that are very physical. But as far as weights go, favorite exercises definitely going to be the squats, crazy squats. I hate squats with a passion. I also love them with a passion. Definitely like doing back, though. Back's my favorite out of everything. I definitely like pull-ups. Pull-ups is my all-time favorite exercise. I love pull-ups so much that I would do, if I had to pick one exercise, I would definitely not want to lose. Well, if I had to pick one exercise that I could only do the rest of my life, it would be pull-ups. So how easy is it for you to beat the whole room in arm wrestling? Well, considering that it's just me and my dog, pretty easy. And kickboxing can be very therapeutic at times. One last quick question. Favorite movie? Favorite movie, I don't really have one. I have a lot of favorite movies, but I don't have a particular favorite movie. Other than that, everyone else, please, thank you for coming on tonight. I certainly appreciate your time. And more importantly, stay tuned for some of the other stuff I'm going to release. I'll be talking about more of the psychology angle down here, and then I'll start writing some content and producing some content on each of these blocks and keys as we move forward. Okay. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good night, good evening, good weekend, and get started. Stop making excuses. Stop bullshitting yourself, and get into gear, kick some ass, and then join me on this journey of transformation, and join me in kicking ass with your finances for the rest of the year. Join me on producing serious income for